F-Zero was released on November 21st, 1990 to the Super Nintendo. Obviously, it was not the first racing game ever, and definitely not the last game, but it's one of the greatest on the SNES. This game stars Captain Falcon, who's probably best known as a major character in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. F-Zero has two modes, Grand Prix and Practice. The controls on this game are simple but work nicely. D-pad steers, B has you accelerate, A has you brake, and L and R can also do brakes on each side corresponding to the wheel you want to hit. L is for left and R is for right, of course. As I said, simple, but works great. The physics are actually pretty good for a racing game. When you turn, you'll continue to keep moving forward until you brake or recover, which is something good that actually happens in real life, as you probably know. So that's something very interesting that they put in this racing game that probably not all games at the time would have put in. The graphics, although 16-bit for the time, were just okay. The maps were often just fuzz far out in the background, while some close details looked fine. The cars also didn't look very great. They were fine, but they just didn't impress me. And it looked very similar to something that would be seen on like the Sega Genesis in many ways. Like when I was racing around and stuff, I felt like this racing game belonged more on the Sega Genesis than the SNES for some reason, because the SNES just felt different than this. So it's ironic that it kind of became a Nintendo property. The music in this game is catchy and very recognizable. To mention Super Smash Bros. Again, it's one of those songs that after I play Super Smash Bros. Sometimes I kind of feel humming. So for the time, the music was actually quite great for what they could do. Although the numbers of songs are fairly limited on this game. As I said earlier, this game is divided into two modes. Grand Prix, where players race against the computer and to get 1 to 3rd place to continue on or progress to the next stage, and in Practice, where you can train on any night level track. Unfortunately, no King or Queen track, and there you also race only one person. But the problem is, I don't get why they don't do King or Queen maps. Maybe you have to beat King and Queen and they just give you Night for free. I don't know. The player has the option to play in one of 4 vehicles. Captain Falcon's car, the Blue Falcon, which is very fast and really hard to control. The Golden Fox, a car with good control. The Wild Goose, which feels very slow. And the Fire Stingray, which is fast but has really bad acceleration. This game features 21 tracks, 7 in the Night League, 7 in the Queen League, and 7 in the King League. Any Night League track can be played on Practice mode, while the others are only available in Grand Prix. The Night League has Mute City 1, which is a futuristic, over-fuzzy city with a lot of sharp turns, but at the same time it has some of the easier turns as well. So overall, not a super hard map. Big Blue, a track over water that's thinner and has more rough patches than Mute City 1. Sand Ocean, a bad-looking desert level with many curves of all sizes. Deathwind, ironically a big oval with some kind of weird green liquid. Silence, which is purple with large towers and has many jagged turns and a shortcut, although the shortcut is lined with bombs. Port Town 2, overlooking a city with a pink sky, also having a new hazard, big electrical wires. The only Queen tracks we were able to get to is Mute City 2, which is like Mute City at sunset, plus the track is a long loop, and Port Town 1, overlooking a dark port town and has a very squiggly track. Unfortunately, the only King track we were able to get to is Mute City 3, which overlooks the city at night and includes mines all over the course. Probably the biggest downside of F-Zero is it has no multiplayer feature. I know back then it was kind of, well, there's a lot of multiplayer actually. Super Mario Bros, they had several games with multiplayer, so it made no sense that they didn't try and add multiplayer into F-Zero, and considering the fact that it doesn't have very much content to the game, I would have liked if they added a little multiplayer, maybe even if it was just like the night tracks and they were too lazy to do like the King and Queen tracks. And it didn't have to be cooperative. I mean, it could have been like an elimination still where it's like, well, if you're still under 4, you still don't get in. Or maybe it's a team thing where you have to be like within, maybe you have to both get through within like 5th place or something. I don't know. The difficulty in this game gets increasingly hard, and even on the easiest settings, races in like the King and Queen League are still very challenging, and you usually will find yourself becoming in like 4th place because of all those annoying Metroid car looking things that get in your way and block you and you're supposed to be lapping them, quote unquote, but pretty much they're only there to block your path, and they get really annoying. So overall, that's what earns F-Zero it's a solid racing title, don't get me wrong, but there are some failings in it, like no multiplayer, the annoying Metroid cars, but the maps are overall pretty good, even though they're kind of recycled from one another. Overall, F-Zero would have probably got a higher score than an 8, but the problem was, I think it could have got a 9 easily if it added multiplayer and just gave more of an experience, but with lack of graphics, lack of multiplayer, it's just what pulls it back to only an 8, which still isn't a very bad score. It's an over-average game, and for a SNES title, it's not a bad game. It's kind of fun to just switch back and forth and still kind of cooperate on it, just switch back and forth, but it's still a kind of fun game, and you can usually get it fairly cheap. Like I got my copy for $4 at Half Price Bookstore. Next time on the next episode, we'll be reviewing Street Fighter X Tekken.